Everyone found their own reason to say no to a juicy burger, a fluffy omelette, or a cheesy pizza, whether it was to promote a healthier lifestyle, alleviate animal suffering, or combat global warming. Even ice cream would be prohibited. Would following a vegan diet prevent climate change? Is this good for your health? How would all those cattle be treated? Who are vegans? A way of life that seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of, and cruelty to, animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. The vegan society defines a vegan. Vegans avoid eating meat, dairy, eggs, honey, and other animal products. Additionally, leather and cosmetics tested on animals are two items that many vegans avoid. Severe veganism can be undeniably challenging to keep up with. Beeswax, albumin, blood, bone china, carmine, casein, castoreum, cochineal, elastin, emu oil, gelatin, honey, isinglass, keratin, lactic acid, lanolin, lard, rennet, retinol, shellac, squalene, tallow, whey, and yellow grease are all common animal products. There are vegan alternatives for some of these, but many do not. It is, in fact, impossible, according to philosopher Gary Steiner, as animal products and use are deeply and imperceptibly woven into the fabric of human society. In the United States alone, there are 20 million vegans as of 2018, which is 6 times more than there were in 2015. On restaurant menus, tofu is replacing meat. In the past 3 years, the number of vegans in the United States has increased by 600%. Alternatives to dairy-based milk are making their way onto supermarket shelves. From 2012 to 2017, sales of non-dairy milk in the United States increased by 61%. A once radical diet choice is now becoming commonplace. However, this does not stop the meat industry from growing in size. In the United States, 5 lakh animals are slaughtered for their meat every hour. Did you realize? Animal products account for a quarter of all emissions of greenhouse gases. Cows make up the majority of that. The global cattle population creates a carbon footprint that is equivalent to the total CO2 emissions from all cars, trains, ships, and aircraft worldwide each year. Would a vegetarian diet save the world if everyone went vegan one day? Wait, exactly how does livestock contribute to climate change, environmentalism and veganism? There are approximately 1.5 billion cows worldwide, and each cow produces up to 120 kilograms of methane annually. Methane has a negative impact on climate change that is 23 times greater than that of carbon dioxide. The livestock industry is responsible for 4/5 of all agricultural emissions. Between 18% and 51% of global emissions are attributed to greenhouse gas emissions from animal products, according to estimates. The environmental impact of meat production accounts for much of that. The use of fossil fuels, the production of methane gas, the waste from effluents, and the use of land and water are some of the effects that the production of meat has on the environment. Additionally, cattle occupy up to 2/3 of the world's agricultural land. The majority of that pasture land would be used to restore forests and grasslands to aid in the reduction of airborne carbon dioxide if everyone went vegan. We would begin cultivating more crops to meet our food needs. Gas emissions from livestock would decrease by 70%. Water contamination brought on by the production of animals is a problem in both developing and developed countries. Animal waste is causing problems in a number of countries, including Switzerland, India, the United States, Canada, Greece, and India. These issues could be kept away from by the suitable utilization of compost. It appears that a vegan meal can conserve 2,500 gallons of water. 1 pound of beef requires 2,500 gallons of water to produce. However, what would become of all those farm animals? Millions of animals would be killed or left behind if there was no demand for roast beef and grilled chicken. A few creatures, similar to sheep and pigs, would possibly get back to the wild, yet their numbers would drop because of hunters. However, others, like broiler chickens, are so far removed from their ancestors that they cannot survive in the wild. In sanctuaries, where they would be cared for until they die out, they might have the best chance. Veganism and humanity. Your neighborhood butcher would need to find a new job. Millions of farmers would, too. They could begin developing more harvests or re-establishing woodlands. However, this may also be beneficial because many workers in the meat industry face poor working conditions, health risks, inadequate compensation, and significant dangers. Migrant workers are also mistreated and underpaid in many American meat factories. But there would be a lot of unemployment in rural areas that used to provide you with milk, eggs, and meat. Economic disruption would be significant for developing nations whose lives and trades were based on livestock, veganism, and human health. However, everyone would get healthier, or would we? You will not automatically become a healthy eater if you follow a vegan diet. Vital nutrients are frequently lacking for vegans. They frequently lack omega-3 fatty acids, calcium, iron, vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin B12. You would need to consume a lot of soy, beans, and lentils because meat, eggs, and cheese would no longer be ideal sources of protein. However, a healthy diet would reduce our risk of diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. However, research has shown that the majority of people consume too much protein anyway. According to a study published by the Huffington Post, vegans typically have a lower cancer rate. The global mortality rate would decrease by as much as 10%. This would result in fewer deaths by 8 million annually, as well as savings of up to $1 trillion on healthcare and lost workdays annually. However, this is not the case in developing nations, where over 2 billion people already suffer from severe malnutrition. They believe that conditions would deteriorate rather than improve without meat. Although this is true, the inequitable distribution of resources is ultimately the root cause. Additionally, the production of meat consumes a significant amount of land that could be utilized for the production of food that is healthier, more readily available, or just more generally. According to studies, a varied vegan diet necessitates approximately one-third of the land required by conventional Western diets. The food used to raise livestock for slaughter could feed 3.5 billion people. Veganism, on the other hand, has other effects on health. Infected meat accounts for more than 80% of cases of food poisoning. The American Dietetic Association, ADA, says that people who eat vegan or vegetarian food tend to have lower levels of cholesterol in their blood, lower levels of blood pressure, a lower chance of getting prostate and colon cancer, and a lower rate of ischemic heart disease. Additionally, despite the fact that humans already consume an excessive amount of antibiotics for their own health, around 3 million pounds annually in the United States alone, animals receive even more. Up to 17.8 million pounds are fed to livestock annually, but this amount may actually be less than what is actually given to them. Humans are becoming more resistant to antibiotics than animals, which contributes to the spread of superbugs. Fish are not food but friends. Creature government assistance is likewise a worry while thinking about veganism. 32% of Americans surveyed by Gallup in 2015 agreed that animals should have the same rights as people, up from 25% in 2008. Even when animals are raised for human consumption, many people believe that they should be treated with respect. Professor Gary Francione's most succinct summary of this more extreme viewpoint is that veganism must serve as the foundation for anyone who believes that non-humans have intrinsic moral value and that all sentient beings should have the right not to be treated as property. Farm animals feel pleasure and sadness, excitement and resentment, depression, fear, and pain, according to the well-known author Jane Goodall. We had no idea how sensitive and intelligent they were. The majority of animals' thoughts and feelings are not really known to us. However, we are aware that they experience pain, and many of our methods of producing meat have the potential to inflict a significant amount of it on them, not to mention lead to their inevitable demise. Animals also lack agency in this process. Humans can choose to eat meat or not, but animals cannot choose to be eaten. Whether or not to go vegan. It might be a little too extreme to have everyone in the world go vegan. However, if we consume animal-based foods, we will eventually have to deal with gas emissions. Clean ways to cut down on emissions from the livestock industry already exist, which is good news for people who love meat. Implementing them is the last step. Additionally, there is a little thing called balance. More than 39% of consumers in the United States and 43% in Canada, according to a Nielsen survey, say they are trying to eat more plant-based foods. People all over the world are being encouraged to reduce their intake of meat by initiatives like Meatless Monday. What do you think? Would you decline the meatball pasta tonight?